What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again. And you know what? I'm pleasantly pleased, surprised, not shocked, but the last two games were enjoyable. The first one was dismal, and the last two games have been great. And if that's how it's going to be this week, kind of an opposite of last week, I'll go ahead and I'll take that. And all of you out there, wishing me well on our little getaway to Mohegan State Park so that we could go enjoy time with our family. It's kind of a yearly outing we do there. I do appreciate that. And yeah, things were a little discombobulated with getting the content out this week, so I apologize. Things will be better this week. But man, I am just taken back. Brian Scott, to me, gets the MVP for the week, and we don't even need to have the fourth game. I am just blown away. Not only is this guy great on the field, but who knew he could cook? I didn't. I guess he's really good at making chicken salad. I mean, he said so himself out there, redoing the play with I think it was with Brock Hurden, explaining how it's done. And yeah, in the middle of throwing a touchdown pass, he's just making some chicken salad. I'm joking here, but I think it's absolutely hilarious. And I think that this is what we need more of in the USFL. I mean, it really brings that aspect of that rawness that we got in the XFL. And that's what we want to see. We want to see more of that. We want to see, the good stuff and the bad stuff, and not just the stuff that you want to show us, but all of, what it is encompassed with football. And we're getting bits and pieces here, but I thought that this was hilarious. This was the greatest troll just about almost ever on the field. I mean, it was pretty awesome for him to do that on national TV. It was awesome, because right now, unfortunately for the USFL, the only thing that's really been noteworthy has been their TV series and chicken salad or pizza. Which camp you fall into? That's pretty much been it. And for him to comment on that, especially after the day that he's had, is just bonkers and awesome. And I love it, and it makes me love him anymore. But without getting too far into that, we're going to go ahead and break down the three first games, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts on them. The first game, it was a 10-6 win for the Generals. The Generals got a win on it, and the Panthers, they have just fallen off of the face of the planet. There's a lot wrong with them, and it was exposed in this game. The Generals' defense definitely are pretty good. The crazy thing is that like Shea Patterson still has a bazillion yards throwing, but the reality of it is, and he's even said it himself, he needs to get better in the pocket. He needs, now granted, part of the time it's like, is he running for his life because of the line, or is he running for his life because he can't make a decision and can't see and read defenses? I kind of think the latter, and it's really kind of coming to show. But really, would you take him or Lynch? And are we getting to where are they gonna try to bring in a third quarterback into this thing? Are they gonna try to change up the scheme some? Are they going to, I have absolutely no clue. It just felt like just bad with them, and I thought that he was gonna have a coming out party, and boy was I wrong. I felt like, I was pretty wrong this week with these three games, and you know what? I feel okay about that. I feel pretty good. This game, though, really solidified to me that, listen, we've got some quarterback issues that need to be taken care of, because quarterbacks aren't taking these by the reins. Shea Patterson, Lynch, I wouldn't be surprised if Lynch gets to start next week, and he really, gets an opportunity to come in there and really show what he's got. I don't think that he's got it either. And, Riley keeps giving Luis Perez and Johnson the opportunity to take the number one QB spot. And, as things progress on, I think he likes the 2 QB thing, but I think he would rather one of the guys take the job and really, try to solidify his offense around that, because whether it's the one guy or the other, the offense and the dynamic of the offense completely changes. Now, I do like their running attack, and their running attack definitely gets a boost when Johnson's in there. But you know what? Luis Perez has been the better passer of the two, but after this game, Luis Perez was just off. And if he wants this job, he really needs to take it by the horns. I mean, it's just, it was tough. The crazy thing is after this game, Patterson played as bad as what he did. He still didn't have an interception in this game, and I was just baffled by that, and it was odd to me. The running game never really got going very well. Really nothing to call home about with it. This was just a defensive slobber knocker that just had a bunch of offensive mistakes in it, and it just really wasn't. Listen, I apologize. I'm an offensive minded guy, and that's just where my focus goes, and it really wasn't there. Marcus Ball had a couple really nice catches, and it showed his value that's still there on the Panthers side, but there really wasn't much here. I think that their defense stepped up, played pretty well. I think the Panthers have shown that they've got a defense. They just need to find a quarterback. I really think that that's what's holding them back. And I will say that they're, good night. The wide receivers. Some issues there, but it really falls more on the quarterback position and what's going to go on and happen there. And the same thing with the Generals, but for a different thing. One of these quarterbacks really need to take, the reins here. Johnson was 5 for 6, for 48 yards, but it wasn't that memorable to me, and he never really got the opportunity to really take the reins in this one. Luis Perez, he had that bad interception, and he was 13 for 19 for 97 yards and averaged 5 yards. That's not gonna cut it. A pass attempt, a reception. Sorry. Still, 68%. Throwing percentage, which was decent. Like I said, the Panthers held Victor to only 40 yards. Nothing much to go with this game, but it was bad, and none of these quarterbacks were really up for playing under the lights. And I'm waiting to see one of them just really step up and take it here, and we haven't seen it here. And I was really discouraged after Friday night's game, thinking, oh crap, this is going to be bad. Like the USFL, this thing's going to burn and crash. And then came the Saturday games, and my mindset has changed. I'm glad that I missed on all of my picks. Being an Ohio guy, seeing Michigan flounder in 0-2, I like that stuff. So I'm glad I was wrong on that. And, moving back to this second game, this one was actually really, really fun. Now, Scott had the interception that was returned for a touchdown. It's kind of funny that the Maulers, their first touchdown of the whole entire season, and we're not talking like, to start the season off right off the bat. We're talking about like, into the second game, their first touchdown they scored is on the defensive play. I just think that just cracks me up. I just think that that's absolutely hilarious. But after that, Scott just came out and played solid. He had a couple, throws here and there that weren't the greatest, but made some really great throws, made some really competent plays where moving around in the pocket, staying alive, staying open. And this is what I've said from the beginning of this thing. I'm excited about this guy, and I think that this guy's going to have a coming out party this season, especially with the Fox eyes on him. He's a really, really fun, dynamic guy to watch, and I thought that was pretty good. The running game is still pretty dismal, but right now, with the options of him at quarterback, I really don't think that it's really that big of a deal. I will say Terry had some nice runs, and I think if they can figure out how to use him to kind of spell things and to break it up, I think that that'll be, totally fine right there. Alexander had those nice 2 touchdown catches, and maybe he's coming along. Swell is 6 catches. Howard 6. Overton had 3 and had the touchdown. Just all around looking good. I thought Holland was going to have a better game than he did, but he didn't. Stars still getting the win and covering here, which was pretty good. Only by slightly, though. But it was good. Yeah, the Maulers actually surprised me. And I thought by the personnel changes that they made, that they were definitely going to change things up. They brought in some wide receivers, changed some things around with that. And Love definitely looks like he's going to be the guy. And, he had some bad throws and some things here, but you found some bright spots, and they were starting to figure some things out with it. He was, 21 of 39, not great. I had 236 yards, which was a lot better than what it was last week. But the running game I thought was pretty well. Groshek and London both averaged over 4 yards a carry, which was pretty good. They rushed the ball fairly decent, and really they were there for the end of the game. The Stars just had more firepower than they did, and it was just it was a fun game all the way up into the end. Kept me watching, and it was good football. Whereas like we had close games last week, and the first game was close game, but they weren't really good football. Whereas this was just good sound football. It was dynamic at times, and you had the defense come in and make some stops and that with it, and it showed both of these teams to be good, and to have this game. I think this one was on Fox, so I think that was a really good showing for them to have this game on Fox, and I think to have the game tomorrow on NBC, I think is definitely going to be a good showing for them. When you break it down and look at these two teams, actually things were pretty even. I was kind of surprised. 70 plays for the Maulers. That's like for a team that really wants to establish a run. That's a lot of plays. And when you look at it, the Stars really only had, 300 yards, and the Maulers had almost 350 yards. So I was kind of a little bit taken back by that. One of the things that was bad for the Maulers is again, they did not convert on their trips to the end zone. I think not the end zone, into the red zone. And, that was an issue for them. The Maulers' defense is still pretty stout. I think that both of the teams, Stars had 3 turnovers, and the Maulers had 2, which was Love's 2 interceptions. But even with winning the turnover battle, the Maulers still lost. But I actually have a little bit more hope for them now than what I did before. I actually have more hope for them now than I did the Panthers, and that's really saying a lot, because I thought that the Panthers, if they just cleaned up some of those mistakes, they were going to be one of the better teams in this league, and now I just think that they're going to be floundering. Whereas the Maulers, I kind of think that they're a team that's trying to figure things out, and probably are about 3 or 4 weeks behind where they should be. But it was a fun game, and I truly enjoyed it, and that really led up to the Birmingham and Gamblers game. So, looking at that game, that was a slobber knocker all the way to the end, and it had everything you could want. It was kind of like the other game, a little bit more on the dynamic side of things. You had a few more dynamic plays. It was just a little bit more crisper than the other one, whereas the other one, kind of kept you in it with little pieces here and there, whereas this one had some big shots and some big plays, and especially when you think about it, you had that 64-yard bomb to Williams, which was great. What was it? Thorson had the one where he threw it off craziness to Simmons. And Thorson, maybe he needs to just throw the ball weirdly, because he seems to do better when he throws the ball weirdly. And Bahar, he was 1 for 6, but it seemed like they were finally getting some stuff together when he came in. So I don't know what they're going to do from there, because he definitely looked like the better of the two. But Thorson, after he settled down, looked really, really good. I think the biggest thing with Thorson is gameplay and time, in there, really working through things. the thing is you see everything there with him for him to be an NFL quarterback, but then you see the mistakes that he makes, the rushing, the throwing the interception at the end of the game that didn't need to be. He just threw the ball too hard and let it sail a little bit. It's those type of things. That's the reason why he had 3 interceptions. It was letting the ball sail, getting tipped, and then the defense going through and getting the interception or whatever, and that with it. I think that they're going to work through some things. I still love Thompson. The guy's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. He had 93 yards. I think you need to keep feeding him the ball. Dawkins wasn't too bad there with it. But really, this team, if the quarterback situation can get figured out, and it looked like that they were going to go with Bahar, and man, I don't know. It's really interesting to see their defense. Defense wasn't bad. If you saw, what was it? It was Summers. Summers had that interception. I think that's what we're calling an interception or fumble. Let me look here real quick. They're calling a fumble. But it reminded me of back when he was playing with the Guardians. And so that was kind of cool. I was like, oh yeah, that's Summers. Yeah, I remember that guy, and with him to be in the black and gray again, it's just kind of funny to me. Odom, he's that guy. It's like Odom spells doom for your team. He definitely had another big game this week. He's a guy that I think we're going to be talking about on their defense. Their defense, I really don't have any real issues. Vogel, this game they got to play with the kickers, and I don't mean like that they haven't in the game. I mean, have fun with them on the sidelines. You could tell that they were starting to have fun on the sidelines and that with it. Now the broadcast, and I'm all over the place, but this is just giving you my instant reactions. The broadcast, the stuff is driving me nuts because these games, I'm trying to record them. And when you've got still a baseball game going on and you're starting it on a different network, I'm missing it. And if it weren't for the fact that I could actually watch this game, that I was able to find it and not miss anything. Whereas if I'm recording it, if I would have recording it, I would have missed almost the whole first quarter because they still had a baseball game going on. Now, I know the major network games aren't going to change. Those games are going to play out. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. But the FS1 game and that type of stuff with Fox moving it around, it's just kind of jarring, and it's frustrating, especially because it doesn't get updated on the TV guide. So if the guide's not updated, then it doesn't record for me, and it's more of a personal thing than anything else, and it's hard to find it to where I got a feeling that probably Saturday night's game might not be as high, but who knows? With it being a close game, they might get decent ratings on FS1 because it did end up actually being on FS1, and it didn't take too long for the game to get there. But yeah, I was just their defense is solid. Zuber had some drops, and I will say that he is definitely a guy who could be the number one guy for them, but he has the talent, and he just needs to get better handles on the ball. And let's see here. On the Stallions side of things, Smith started off slow, had the interception and that with it, but calmed down and started hitting guys. And once they were on, they were on. And I think he's just going to get better as it's going. I think Magoo's lost his job. I mean, it's Smith's now, and he's a guy that Holtz knows real well, so I think that's going to propel itself forward with that. That he's the guy, and you might even see, probably Magoo move on, and they'll probably figure something out for a backup. Marable and Brooks both ran well, which is kind of surprising that they actually, because we didn't really get a good run game from them last week. To see them actually get into the run game and be effective with it, I think was really good. Right now, they're looking like the best team in in the whole league. And really, that's what this league needs, is the Birmingham team to be good, to give the fans something to come to and to come for. It looked like the stadium was probably about 40% to 50% full, probably more along the 40 side. But it seemed, I think they're feeding in crowd noise into the games today. But it definitely looks like that they were having fun there. One of the things that this league, though, really needs to figure out, and I think that they're starting to figure this out, is really make it advantageous towards the offense. And what do I mean by that? Well, you had some really good plays that some of these wide receivers made, but because you're using NFL rules with 2 feet in, they're not catches anymore. And I'm not saying that you necessarily have to go to college, but I think you need to college rules with that 1 foot. But I think you need to understand that you're eliminating offensive production with that stuff. Like, for instance, like we talked about with the ball. And if you noticed, I noticed a difference in the kickers this week. I don't know if you have, but it's been a huge difference with them switching the ball. And I think that that's a good thing, allowing the players to play with the ball that they use. I think that that's great. But going back to this, they really need to start tweaking things to be more advantageous towards a more dynamic play. And unfortunately, that tailors things towards the offense and a little bit away from the defense. But both of these games, I would rather see this 33 to 28 game. And I think everybody else, most people would, as opposed to, what we got with a 10-6 game. That's just what's going to put butts in the seat. Dynamic play. That's what's going to, get viewers and that with it. So I picked the right teams in these games. I just picked unders, and I was kind of surprised that we got the overs. I was pleasantly surprised. We got some scoring in both of these games, and we're finally starting to see things, progress along. And it did show that really the USFL, they probably should have, given themselves a couple more weeks in camp before they started things, because I think that they just started a week or two too early, and we're now starting to see the chemistry come together to where week 3, I think things are going to start to be more solid and solidified, whereas if they would have, started things just a week or two earlier, I think things would have been a lot better, and our week 1 and week 2 game 1 woes wouldn't be as bad. But those are my initial thoughts with things. I thought that it was great. It was a fun Saturday of watching football. We got one more game yet this week, and we'll hopefully have fun with that one, which I think we will. But those are my thoughts. As always, I want to know your thoughts down in the comment section. Let me know, and we'll continue the conversation on down there. All right, guys, listen, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.